Picture this. You catch the head of your neighborhood HOA swiping a vital piece of medical equipment from your disabled kid, all because it didn't match her idea of a flawless community. Do you bite your tongue to keep the peace, or do you come out swinging with everything you've got? That's the mess I landed in just 3 months after moving into what I thought was our forever home in Seattle's Pinewood Crest. My name's Elizabeth Carter, a federal prosecutor who cuts her teeth on civil rights cases, and this is the story of how one woman's petty power grab turned our quiet suburb into a battleground. My daughter, Lily, is 13 and tougher than anyone I know. 2 years back, a car crash left her paralyzed from the waist down. She's got a mind like a steel trap, a wicked sense of humor, and a fire to live life her way. But she needs a specialized wheelchair and a Dula 3000 custom cushion to keep pressure sores at bay and sit comfortably. That cushion, nothing fancy, just blue foam, became the fuse for the most ridiculous, infuriating fight I've ever faced. Pinewood Crest sold itself as paradise. Wide sidewalks, accessible parks, a community that welcomed everyone. The houses gleamed, the schools were top tier, and I thought it was the perfect spot for Lily to thrive. But the shiny brochures left out Margaret Vaughn, the HOA president who could teach a master class in tyranny. Margaret was all sharp edges, perfect blonde bob, designer suits without a wrinkle, and a smile so icy it could frost your windshield. She lived in the biggest house on the block, stalking the neighborhood each morning with a clipboard, her eyes sparkling at the chance to bust someone for a crooked mailbox or an unapproved flower pot. From the second we rolled in, Margaret had us in her crosshairs. While neighbors dropped off casseroles or offered to grab groceries, Margaret showed up with a binder of HOA rules thicker than a phone book. "Just so you know our standards," she said, her voice syrupy but her eyes locked on Lily's wheelchair like it was a blight on her perfect world. I should have smelled trouble, but I was too busy settling Lily into school and therapy. The storm hit on a sunny September afternoon. Lily had spilled juice on her cushion, and its care instructions were strict: hand wash, air dry, no exceptions. I scrubbed it carefully and set it on our porch railing to catch the sun, its blue surface glinting. Half an hour later, my doorbell buzzed. There stood Margaret in a crisp blazer, her face pinched like she'd bitten a lemon. "That's not allowed," she snapped, jabbing a finger at the cushion. "No personal items in visible areas. Section 12, paragraph 3. I blinked, thrown off. "Margaret, this is medical equipment for Lily. It prevents sores that could land her in the hospital. It's just out for a few hours." Her arms crossed, nails tapping. "Rules are rules, Elizabeth. If I let this slide, people will park their garbage cans on their lawns." I kept my cool, citing the Americans with Disabilities Act and Lily's right to accommodations, but Margaret's eyes glazed over. "Move it to your backyard," she barked, her heels clicking as she strutted off. I moved the cushion to avoid a fight, but my gut screamed this wasn't over. Sure enough, a week later, a violation notice hit my mailbox: Dula 50 fine, complete with photos of the cushion on my porch, like Margaret was building a case file. She warned that more infractions could slap a lien on my house. My blood boiled. I was a single mom keeping my kid healthy, not some slob trashing the block. That night, after kissing Lily goodnight, I fired off a letter citing ADA protections and demanded an emergency HOA meeting. I walked in armed with notes from Lily's therapist, Dr. Sarah Lynn, and federal regulations. "This is a reasonable accommodation," I told the board. "Federal law trumps HOA rules." Most nodded, their faces softening. Tom, a retired judge, and Ellen, a nurse, backed me up. But Margaret's voice sliced through. "If we allow medical equipment on porches, what's next? 4 drips? Hospital beds? This is a prestigious community, not a clinic. Property values are at stake." The room tensed. "Are you saying my daughter's existence tanks your property values?" I asked, my voice calm but my heart hammering. Tom coughed. "Let's make an exception. It's temporary and necessary." Margaret's face reddened, but she was outvoted. The fine was dropped, and I could dry the cushion on the porch. I thought it was over. I was dead wrong. October brought Seattle's endless rain, 2 weeks of drizzle that made drying anything outside impossible. When the sun finally peeked out on a Saturday, Lily was at a friend's sleepover, so I deep cleaned her cushion and set it on the porch. I was buried in work when a noise yanked me to the window. My heart stopped. Margaret was on my lawn, snatching the cushion. Before I could move, she was marching down the street with it. I grabbed my phone and ran out. "Margaret, stop! That's Lily's medical equipment." She didn't turn. "I warned you," she called. "Your legal tricks fooled the board, but not me." I followed, filming as she stormed to the community dumpster, her heels clicking like a metronome. "This eyesore ends now," she declared, tossing the cushion into the trash with a flourish. Coffee grounds and wet cardboard buried it. Neighbors poked their heads out, drawn by the noise. Margaret, now playing to the crowd, raised her hands. "Items like this ruin our standards and our property values. Pinewood Crest has an image to uphold." My hands shook, but I kept recording. "That cushion costs $3,000 and is custom made for Lily's health," I shouted. Margaret smirked, brushing her hands. "Take it up with the board. As president, I can remove violations." What she didn't know was that Jake, a retired Marine next door, had filmed it too. "I got it all, Elizabeth," he said quietly, stepping up as I fished the soiled cushion from the dumpster. "This was wrong. I'm your witness." The cushion was ruined, needing professional cleaning. Until then, Lily had to use a backup that didn't fit right. That night, she came home beaming from her sleepover, oblivious to the drama. I swapped the cushions and kept quiet, not wanting to dim her spark. But by morning, she was wincing. The backup didn't distribute pressure properly, and by Monday, a pressure sore was forming a dangerous risk. We raced to the ER, where Dr. Lin treated the red, tender spot on Lily's back. "This is what the custom cushion prevents," she said softly. Lily's voice was tiny. "It's my fault, Mom. I should have noticed." I squeezed her hand. "This is not your fault, sweetheart." In that hospital room, my anger turned to steel. Margaret's stun had hurt my kid, and this was no longer just a spat. Back home, with Lily on bed rest, I took leave and called colleagues who knew ADA violations inside out. At the next HOA meeting, Margaret's smug grin faded when she saw me. "Elizabeth, I heard Lily's unwell," she cooed, her concern faker than her tan. "She's in pain because of you." I shot back, plugging my laptop into the projector. The room went quiet as my video played Margaret stealing the cushion, then Jake's footage of her dumpster toss and her speech about property values. Gasps echoed. "As a result," I said, "Lily developed a stage 2 pressure sore. She's missing school and her life because of this." Margaret's face paled, her makeup suddenly clownish. "I was enforcing rules," she stammered. "No," I said. "You violated the ADA and Fair Housing Act, knowingly." I turned to the room. "I'm a federal prosecutor. I've filed complaints against Margaret and the HOA, and I'm pursuing criminal charges for theft." Margaret clutched her throat, her polish cracking. Tom stood. "This is unacceptable. I apologize for the board." Ellen raised her hand. "I move to remove Margaret as president." Jake's voice boomed. "My son uses crutches. You throwing his gear out next?" The vote was brutal, 24-3 against Margaret, her 2 cronies her only support. She stormed out, heels stomping. Whispers about HOA finances led to a forensic audit. It uncovered Margaret's years of embezzlement, funneling cash to her brother's overpriced landscaping company. She'd also targeted anyone she didn't like with selective fines. The fallout was swift. Margaret lost her real estate job, and my CIVYL suit won a settlement for Lily's medical bills and a new accessibility fund. Criminal charges for theft and embezzlement ended in a plea deal, 500 hours of community service at a disability youth center. The HOA rewrote its rules with advocate input, added ramps, and mandated sensitivity training. Lily's sores healed, but the sting of being targeted for her disability lingered. She turned her pain into power, speaking at a community event. "People see my wheelchair before they see me," she told the crowd, her voice clear. "But I'm a coder, a chess player, and now an activist." The applause shook the room. Months later, a letter came from Margaret. "I was wrong," she wrote. "Working at the center changed me. Lily's courage opened my eyes." Lily read it and smiled. "She's learning, Mom. That's what matters." We donated part of the settlement to the center, hoping to stop the next Margaret. A year later, Pinewood Crest hosted an accessibility fair, with Lily helping plan it. As she laughed, directing volunteers, I saw a neighborhood transformed not by lawsuits, but by neighbors who stood up. Margaret's house sold to a family with a son on crutches, and I grinned, knowing their rights were safe. Lily's cushion still dries on our porch, a quiet badge of a war won. And somewhere, I hope Margaret's still learning, because real justice isn't just punishment, it's change.